G'day friends, welcome to today's video. I am super excited because if you watched the whole video last week, you'll remember I said I wanted to get my hands on the Midori 10th anniversary edition white grid notebook. Wow. Wow. It's like a bit of a mouthful to try and wrap my head around. Anyway, I wanted to go and get it. Well, I thought I would just order it online, to be honest. So I went to go and look for all the links for the description box for that video and quickly found out that it was sold out everywhere. Like, I'm telling you, I went to so many different websites. I went to independent sellers on Etsy. I went to eBay. I was looking everywhere and I just could not find one. So I guess maybe if I searched super hard, I could have found one that maybe someone was selling for like a ridiculous amount. But I thought, like, I've seen this in the store, so why don't I just go back to the store? Here's the thing, went back to the store and there was only 3 of them left. And the lady in front of me at the cash register had one of them on the table. So I was like, oh, okay. And there was a ton of the other ones, but the white grid has somehow become a bit of an elusive catch. So what I did, because I'm just ultra like this, I picked up 2. And I'm actually going to run a giveaway to win one of them as well. So I'm not even going to open this one. I've got it in here. I've also got, if you remember on the whole video, they had this take-free little sample book with all the extra things in here, and I was swatching out some of the stuff from the haul. I've also got one of those in there because I couldn't help myself. It's free, so I just took it. So this will be for one lucky winner. I have not actually figured out what I want to do for the giveaway yet. I want it to be something exciting. Now, here's the thing, just a side note on giveaways. I do love doing giveaways. It's always super fun. I keep it international because I feel like everyone should have the chance to win. So I don't mind spending the $14 it costs to ship somewhere. The thing is, I don't like doing the ones where it's like, leave a comment. Or I don't like doing like, make sure you subscribe to my channel, because to be honest, I don't really care if people subscribe to the channel or not. I don't want to like an influx of people that aren't really just enjoying the content, that just want to stick around for free things, because that's kind of not the engagement that I'm here for. But speaking of engagement, that's the type of giveaway I like to run. So I know it seems a little extra, but hey, it's me. But I always like to do something specific, like if it's a coloring competition, or if it's a what can you do with this journal page thing, or like go and hand letter a quote from one of my old videos. I always like to be like a little bit interactive with it and to find like the true engagement, because first of all, I like competitions of skill. I don't like competitions of chance. It's why I'm not a big gambler or a gambler at all. I'll only really play bingo, but even then it's just so that my mom and I can paint our nails with the daubers. I like the involvement. So this giveaway, all of that to say that this giveaway isn't going to be one of those subscribe and tell me why you'd want it. I think those are great, and those are really great for people that need something efficient to do quickly for a giveaway. But I really like to get people involved. So I don't quite know what I'll do yet. If you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments below of a type of competition that maybe you enjoy that I haven't run yet, or maybe something you think would be interesting and engaging for the Burke mates. Because this has become a little bit of a hard to get item, so I think it should be hard to get. No, not at all. It will be fun. It will have to be fun because it's just a giveaway. But as soon as I know what that is, I will let that out and let that go. But today we're actually going to open this one and do a bit of a first impressions and review, because whilst I have put some things in this, I just don't know if it's going to be the same in here. So let's open. So I'm just next level loud today because I'm super excited. Oh, this is for Steve. Steve got this. Now, this is the Uniball Air that I swatched out the other day. This is apparently the micro. So I think this one is, I think they say it's fine. This says 0.4 to 0.6 millimeters. Oh, it says here it's a 0.7 millimeter, and this says 0.5. So to me, that's not like fine on the scale of, you know, fine pens. It's still quite thick. Like a fine pen to me is this Muji 0.25. Oh, hang on. I totally ordered a pack of these the other day. because I was running out. So I'm actually going to include one of these. This is my favorite really fine writing like detail pen for like eyes and lashes and stuff. I won't include that one because I just used it. This is the one that I'm going to include with the giveaway. Look at any specific one. These are a Muji 0.25. I have them linked down below in the description as well if you want to check those out. I just bought a 5-pack from Amazon. I think it was relatively affordable considering they're imported from Japan, but is this a nice one? Why do I feel like that lid doesn't look nice to me? Oh no, it's the way it is. I've never really looked that close at them before. Okay, so I'm going to put this with the giveaway as well. So you'll win, I'll tell you what you win when I come up with the thing, but I'll put that in the giveaway because I really like these, and I don't know if a lot of people have been trying them, and I would really like people to try them because they are super fun. Anyway, I don't need to be drawing on that. That was all just to say that Steve got this pen for himself because he thought if he had a better pen that it would encourage him to write in his traveler's notebook more, which I kind of think is true. If I've got stationery that I really like, I've got some stickers that I like, I'll be in my journal more often. So this is the little take-free paper pad. You can see it's the same thing. This one's just been battered with my stuff. I got another one because I couldn't help myself. It's free. I couldn't not take it. So this is it. This is the Midori MD paper white grid. This is what it looks like. They're very sleek, very plain. You can see it was approximately $18 from the store. Let's open her up. So it comes with these stickers, which are nice. I don't know if I'd use them on this. Maybe. I just don't even know what I'm going to use this for. I'm kind of nervous to even swatch stuff out in it because I'm just so excited. So here we've got this little paper band, kind of like a slip cover. This is kind of like a slip cover too. It's actually covered in wax paper to keep it all nice and neat because this is an uncoated stock, cover stock, and this is just a cheesecloth binding over the glued spine, which these types of books are really great for lay flat. These, what is it called? It's some kind of stitching, Coptic stitching. It's like a book that you would put into a hardbound, like a hardcover case binding book. Like all the signatures are kind of sewn together and then glued over with this cheesecloth, so it's pretty good for lay flat type stuff. Here it's got all of this writing on here. I don't know if we really need to listen to all of that, read all of that, sorry. I'm gonna leave the wax paper on because I'm being precious with it. Acting like I've never spent $18 on a journal before. I feel like every other journal I have is more expensive than this, but I don't know, it just feels so, like, it just feels like so special. Okay, so this is gonna be super hard to see, but I think that's probably why they've got this black paper, so you can maybe try and see it through there. Oh, okay, I can see it. It's also quite bright in here, so maybe that's gonna be a little bit difficult. I'll be honest, they're not as pronounced as I thought they would be, the grid. I can still see them, but they're very faint. I almost think you have to have this black thing behind it to actually see the grid. Because I'm gonna try and put it up to the camera and hopefully you can see. But that's with the black behind it, and then we'll take that black away. See, it's really hard to see against the cream underneath, but this, I mean, this is totally gonna work for what I purchased it for, because this won't pick up at all in the photocopier or even the scanner. I'm assuming it's so faint. So luckily it comes with this black thing. Otherwise, I feel like most people wouldn't probably even see the grid on it. You'd be forgiven for thinking it was actually just a blank journal. So I guess if you're looking for a journal that can go both ways, this is it for you. If you want a grid and or / plain journal. Oh, you know what? I can see it over this side too. Maybe it's the angle that I sit at, or maybe it's just the daylight that's in here. Very interesting. Anyway, so it is a cream paper. It's not white. This is a, I'll just grab a piece of white paper. This is the difference in cream and white. So it really is a cream tone, which apparently is nicer for your eyes to rest on. It's not so stark. It says here the cream colored paper is easy on the eyes while creating a beautiful contrast with black or blue ink. That sounds lovely. Let's go to the back and let's actually swatch out some mixed media stuff because I feel like that's what you're probably here for. My first impressions is it's beautiful and I love the feel of it. I love the layout. This is fainter than I thought, but I guess I don't know what I expected because I've never seen a white grid before. With the black paper underneath, it really does help. And to be honest, for the purpose that I bought it for, to be able to sketch with the grid help, but not actually see it when I digitize or scan or photocopy, this is absolutely perfect for that. So it's a very specific reason that I bought it, and I don't know if that reason's going to be your reason for buying it, but either way, I'm still doing the giveaway. So let's test out all our mixed media stuff on it. I've got a few watercolors here, so let's do some watercoloring. Because that's what I'm super curious about, to be honest, and I feel like a lot of people might be curious. I'm gonna get rid of the black paper underneath because I don't need it right now. And I don't want to ruin it, because you know what I'm like. Oh wow, the grid shows up. That's like one of those kids' books where it's like written in invisible ink. So the grid does provide a touch of a resist, but I'm assuming that if you layer heavier puddles of pigment on there, you're probably not going to see it. But initially, as a wash, it does create a touch of a resist. I'm curious to know what ink they use to print it, because I've never really heard of white ink in printers. White ink is so hard to formulate anyway, like, we're always looking for the perfect white gel pen. I'm just so curious to know what they did, unless it was screen printed on, maybe, but that would be such a huge process for them. I'm really not quite sure. These are the Designs by Rachael Beth watercolors. I'm always recommending these. I'll leave the link down below. Mindy Lacefield actually recommended this to me, or she sent this to me, the Happy Birthday palette, when we did the Goody Gumdrops class. I completely hit pan on teal sprinkles, and Margaret was so kind and sent over this because she'd noticed that I had completely run out. So thank you again, Margaret. I also got these from Rachel for referring people, which was such a lovely surprise. And I had my eye on this one, but it was sold out every time I went to go and get it. Now, I will just say one thing. I did notice on Rachel's Instagram that she has such a huge demand for these. Please remember that they're handmade and they're only made in small batches, just so that she can assure quality control. There's no big manufacturing process going on there. So I'm not sending you on a wild goose chase, but I do just want to say, if you're trying to get your hands on these, they're very, very popular and you might have to wait a little bit. So please be patient. And they will come back as Rachel can meet the demand for them, which is such a great problem to have, and honestly I wouldn't wish anything else, but just please remember it is just one person, and I only say that because I know what it's like to receive a lot of requests and a lot of emails and a lot of questions for something that is just labor intensive, and I used to feel terrible when I couldn't offer people an orange grab bag after they'd sold out, or I couldn't give people a roll of washi tape once they'd all gone, and I would feel so guilty, and it just kind of compounded with every email that I got. So I just wanted to say that she's definitely working on it, and they're beautiful and they take time to create. So I just think if you keep that in the back of your mind, I think everyone will be happy. So anyway, they actually work on this really, really beautifully. This hasn't dried yet, but can you see that? Look at that sheen. That's Manhattan. That's my absolute fave from Cupcakes and Cocktails. I have a little swatch of Leprechaun in there, which is really, really fun. I did this the other day. This is green. It has a gold shift to it, or it's like a green gold shift. I don't know. I'm colorblind in that spectrum, so not really. I'd have like a colorblind on like the smallest scale from green to yellow. Like light greens and light yellows all kind of look the same to me, and they could be either or. But I know deep greens and I know like deep yellows and bright greens get a little confusing. I don't know. I feel like it doesn't really matter for the most part because I don't typically use green and yellow as colors, but yeah, this is just gorgina. I am obsessed with this. It will warp the paper. There's no bleed through. It's going to warp the paper, but it doesn't seem like the paper pilled or anything. It doesn't seem like it lost any of its integrity. It's just going to be one of those things that if you like the texture of warped paper or crinkly paper, this is not the thin Tomoe River paper. I'll just say that much. This is actually more of a sketch paper feel to it. It's very, very smooth. So for things like alcohol markers would be really, really great on this. They're going to bleed through the paper, so don't kid yourself that they're not. You might want to put a little bit of a backing card under there, but they are super lovely on smooth paper, especially thin smooth paper, because it doesn't eat through the ink in your sketch marker or your Copic marker, your alcohol marker in general. So here, this is really interesting. I feel like when I lay color on top, the ink acts as a resist, because I can fully see that white grid now. That might be fun for some pattern work, but now I'm just thinking everything's gonna have a white grid on it. So I don't know if I'll be doing a colored work on this unless I want the white grid. They layer down really beautifully and smooth, so if this is just something you want to grab in the standard notebook, you get a really beautiful smooth result with alcohol markers. You can get a great smooth result with alcohol markers on a lot of things, to be honest. As long as you work slowly and work wet into wet, they will blend out nice and smooth. But you want to use a thin paper, I've noticed over time, because even though you can get nice results on any other kind of paper, the thinner paper just doesn't eat through as much of the ink, so you're going to really get your money's worth out of that. When I use these on a watercolor paper, it just soaks up the ink, so I'd recommend putting a little cardstock underneath it. You're gonna have to say goodbye to the back of these pages unless you want to collage something over there or draw on the back and get, but I mean, even ink bleeds through this. There's a lot of ghosting that goes on with this, this ink. I'm gonna leave this under here just in case. This is a pigment ink Pentel color brush pen. I'm kind of just doing swatches with the same stuff that I did yesterday. I'm expecting the same kind of results. This is kind of not showing up the white grid. Oh, and it's not a terrible ghosting on the back. I'm just gonna say this, I feel like most stuff will ghost through, so just know that if that's something that's going to irritate you. I've just got a bit of acrylic paint here. This is the Handmade Modern from Target, the $2 a tube. I actually really, really was impressed by this in my haul video. And I'm going to pick up a few more colors when I go back to Target. I'm super taken with the names too. I feel like, honestly, I'm so easy to sell to. I think I've said this before, but like, I used to be tempted to buy those stupid little vacuum things from from the infomercials. And they'd suck up a bowling ball, and then you had the ones that would just roam around the house themselves. Like, I don't know, I'm really, really gullible when it comes to that kind of television marketing stuff. So I feel like the names on this and just like the cute colors and stuff, that just sold me. I'm just gonna put some washi tape down and see if it removes without tearing anything. The warping on the acrylic paint isn't as bad, but that's because I used a lot of water on here and the water content in that wasn't, obviously terrible. Alright, this is Ali Brown's washi tape. It's a super great quality, so I expect that it would be repositionable, and it didn't peel anything up, so great for washi tape and its repositionable qualities. Let's see, what else can we put on here? I mean, since we've got a pen, let's just do a bit of that. I do think that pens would bleed through and show a lot of ghosting. They feel beautiful on here, but they're just it's just black ink, so I feel like it's going to ghost. Yeah, definitely ghosting, but no bleed through, which is nice. I'm curious to know actually if this would bleed through. Any of these very, very liquid brush pens bleed? No. That's great. I've also got some Tombow brush markers here. You're still picking up on that white grid. These are water-based markers, so I wouldn't really expect these to be as bad as the Copics for bleed through. Yeah, it's just a bit of ghosting for the Tombow. Just give it some paint marker action. Paint markers, what I notice, usually will peel the paper more than any other medium that I like to put on it, but this kind of looks like it's not going to peel. I think if I scrub it a lot, it might, but I gave it a few layers just there, and it's just laying over itself and kind of moving around. So yeah, I think you'd have to go really hard if you wanted to peel that up. You do see a bit more of the ghosting with the paint markers than just the regular acrylic. The regular acrylic you don't even see through at all. So maybe if you're looking to do art journaling, I would do base with acrylic. You could get rid of some of that white grid if you didn't want it, or use it as an accent and kind of paint around it. Either way, it's all dependent on your style of journaling, I guess. But I'm just going to encourage you not to enter the giveaway if you don't like the white grid. If you don't like it showing through. This is a Faber-Castell Polychromos. I love these pencils. They're oil-based, not wax-based. I know I say this all the time, but they really are like such a different feel. It's just so luxurious. The blending is so beautiful. I mean, what colors am I blending right now? Dark sepia and middle purple pink. That's such a random color. I don't think I've ever read that one before. I'm literally blending these two together and just going over them lightly. And you're even like this is kind of working, which it just is very unassuming that these would work and that you'd even get this kind of, you know, gradient shift, light to dark, and this overlap that still retains like a lot of that vibrant color. And I don't know, it's just beautiful. I don't think there'd be any ghosting on that, no. But yeah, pencils work really, really beautifully on this paper. It is a very smooth paper, so you're not going to get a lot of the pencil texture unless you go lightly, which means if you're someone that doesn't like a lot of pencil texture, to be honest with these, you don't have to press hard, but you can completely get rid of it and have very flat layers of color, which I know some people really enjoy. And then working over the top of your alcohol markers is going to be super easy on this because it's obviously a very smooth paper. So yeah, great for pencils. Just trying to think what else I have. I have some distress crayons. We can have a bit of a play with that. This is smooth, so I imagine that it would blend out pretty well. And I imagine that it would also water activate really well. So let's just activate some of that with water. Yeah, I mean, you keep a lot of that crayon texture, so if that's something that you're into, you can get some nice effects. It does smudge. Sometimes I like to actually like just wet my finger a little bit and smudge it out. It just activates a lot more of the pigment, but then you get thumbprints and like fingerprints. This is fun for some of that crayon texture if that's something you're looking into. I have a big set of these and I actually really love them. I just don't use them enough. I'm going to use some Dylusions ink. I'm not going to spray it because I don't want to get it everywhere, but I find that this is the same diff, right? This is London Blue. Now this paper is actually really beautiful for inks and writing on, so I would expect the ink would possibly ghost, but also have some like really beautiful effects. You know what would be really nice is if you just took a liner brush and actually painted with that ink. So like if you did a wash, let me see if I can wash some of this out over here. It does stain, so like the crayon texture, your ink will stain where it hits the paper. It will seep into the substrate, and then it will, you can still move it around. There's still some open playtime with it, but it will stain wherever you put it. So if you don't want any of that initial ink blot, you'll have to keep it off to the side and layer it on evenly. Alright, I've just given it a bit of a dry with the heat tool. One thing I will notice, well, I'll say that I noticed, is that it did warp the next page along with it. I'm not sure if that was because of the water or because of the heat, but just keep that in mind. This is going to be a very tactile journal for you. Like, this is one of those things that you'll have to just, if you're using it as an art journal, I'm going to suggest just get into it. Just start to really enjoy the textures and the crinkles and all the feels of it, because I just think it's going to be next to impossible to keep it completely flat. There is a trick, however, if you really want to get rid of a lot of warping. If you have a light mister bottle, just spray your paper, get it lightly damp, and then like really press it down between some heavy books. You might want to close the whole book and do it, but I've noticed that it works on watercolor paper. Like if this was super warped, I could just spritz this with some water so that it would kind of activate all the fibers in the paper, and then I'd press this between like some super heavy books, and it will kind of flatten it out. I don't think you'll ever get it back to its original state, but it will definitely help. All right, let's see if I can't not make a mess. I just want to take some of this and like do some line work on it. this tone on tone. I never used this liner brush, but it's actually really pretty. I didn't realize you'd have as much control over it because it's so long and tapered to such a thin point. I thought it would just be so flimsy, but it's actually quite flexible in the way that you would like it to be. I don't know, I might have to keep playing with this. I think this tone on tone is such a beautiful effect. I saw this on Instagram with Alyssa Burke, who is of no relation to me. But she's very creative, and I think I saw a time-lapse video of her doing this tone on tone with ink. So it just goes to show you don't really need a lot of stuff to start art journaling. I get this question a lot, like, what are your essentials? To be honest, anything. Anything will work. You could make a pen work. The pen is ink, so you could essentially just cut up the pen and start painting with water and ink. But I guess it all just depends on what you want to be creating, right? I feel like I've tested out a bunch of stuff. I might just do one final thing because I guess if you are looking to draw in this, you might be curious to know graphite and how much it will erase. So I'm just going to draw a quick face. This is a Palomino Blackwing 602. I'll leave a link down for this as well. Anything else I use in the video, I will leave a link for. Okay, so you're going to definitely not want to be erasing. At least not the Palomino Blackwing. I do have a mechanical pencil around here that I'll try. I'm just going to press lightly and see if that's any better. Yeah, if you press lightly, you're going to be fine. Obviously, your darker, softer leads, with any paper, you're probably going to find a struggle, but this is paper that I wouldn't go in on when I'm erasing, because it still is like a thinner sketch paper. You don't want to be ripping it. I've got some of these Faber-Castell Piet Pastel pencils, which I actually really, really enjoy for shading skin tones. And the specific set of colors I got, I picked out because they worked well with darker skin tones. Yeah, these smudge out. So if you want to know the set of colors that I have, here they are here. I think I've put a picture of this on Instagram before, or maybe in the Facebook group. But I've got the soft in the 101, the white. I've got 102, 103, 226, 180, 131, 169, 189, 191. And I don't know if I'll do a video on this, possibly in the future, but what I do is actually start with like some of the darker shadows, and then I work in some of the lighter shadows on top. I've mentioned this before, but when you're doing darker skin tones, the contrast of the white on these dark, like deep browns and stuff, is just a little ashy. So my recommendation is to pick up a light cream and a light yellow. It's going to bring a lot of vibrancy into the skin. It's going to look a bit more warm and a little more natural than doing white highlights. I just think white highlights on dark skin tones, it's like in real life, you don't really see it. I got a lot of these tips from watching makeup tutorials. If you're curious to know how to shade certain skin tones, look at a makeup artist who has that skin tone do it on themselves, because they can give you so much insight into the base colors of their skin, colors that work, that are complementary for their skin tones. Highlight and shadow colors are really, really interesting to listen to. You can't just assume that because it works for fair skin that it's going to work for dark skin, or vice versa. It's one of those things that I practiced with and looked at over time, and really tried to find the perfect colors. So I feel like I found some really great colors in Copic markers, but pencils I was still a little on edge about, and then I came across these pastel pencils, and this palette is just... I have the white because if I really, really, really need to do a white highlight, like a glitter accent or a very, very bright white something on the dark skin, I will do it. Obviously, you could probably use these for some fairer skin tones as well, but my mission was to create a nice palette for darker skin tones. So you'll even notice that if you're going to do cheek colors and stuff like that, you want something a bit more punchy, a bit more vibrant, a bit more coral than bright pink, but obviously play to your heart's content and see what works for you. But if you're curious, these are what I'd recommend, especially because they're pastel. You can blend them out and you can get some really, really beautiful soft shading. If you weren't going to buy all of these, I would recommend these two. I would recommend this one and I'd recommend these two. I think you could probably get away with it with these. The other ones are kind of just extra. So just take a screenshot if you need to know which colors they are, and that'll be that. So I hope you've kind of got a good feel for it. My first impressions is it's beautiful. It's fun to work in. I don't think I need to be as precious as I was at the start of the video. It is a book, it is a journal. I like the fact that it has this white grid because I've never really seen it before. I kind of like that it does appear. I don't know if doing any kind of colored work will be great for my scanning and for my photocopying, because I feel like that would totally pick up in the copier. In fact, I'm gonna do a photocopy now and I'll just see. Okay, so it totally photocopied as expected. You'll notice that, and I did it in black and white because I feel like if I did it in color, it would just show up anyway. But so you'll notice anywhere that there was any color that would bring out the grid, like over here, it's picked up, but over here it's completely disappeared. So I'm gonna do a quick drawing, a quick line drawing, for the purpose that I bought this for, really. And then I'm gonna photocopy that, and we'll just see what that picks up. So just hold tight while I do the quickest sketch of my life. I have no idea what this is. But I'm just going to photocopy it. My impression is that these grid lines will probably pick up. I could go over them again and try and get rid of them. Or let me just do a line across here. We'll see which ones pick up. Okay, so it actually didn't pick up the grid, which is fascinating to me. Maybe if I had it on a super high setting, or maybe if I scanned it, but it did pick up the crinkle in the paper because I didn't have, I mean, you couldn't really lay that completely flat. But you'll notice that the photocopy didn't show the grid. Even on this black line here, which is a, you know, kind of a solid black line. I'll just put them side by side so you can see. So I'm kind of curious. I feel like over time I'll know better if this really was a good investment for what I particularly bargained on buying it for. But either way, I actually think this A5 size is a really nice size to work on. And if I even end up just using this as a sketchbook, I think it'll still look pretty great. For things like pencil, like you're really not going to see the you're really not going to see the graph under the pencil. You're really not going to see it under acrylic. Even under watercolor, you're probably not going to see it because I don't really notice it under there until you start shifting the angle. But yeah, I think for all intents and purposes, it works really, really beautifully as an art journal. And for things like this too, here's the thing I'm curious about. I have terrible, I can't write straight across, like I just get all wonky. So for something like this, if I put ink all over the page and I've got these white grids, now I have a place to write that isn't a black line. So it's not obvious, but I can still use it to grid out my writing so that I have nice, straight, legible writing. So if that's something you kind of struggle with as a journaler and you're, you're not really reproducing your work or need it to be specifically cleaned, maybe this is something for you if you're looking to try and straighten up your handwriting. I think it's really interesting because I feel like once you write on there, it's not going to be completely obvious that there's a grid. This is water-based. This is a water-based marker, so any ink you lay on top is going to absorb the color underneath. And what's funny is that this Tombow actually pulls out a blue. It's like a very cool gray blue. So when you put the white ink over the top, it actually picks up this light blue cast. Don't know if that's something you've ever noticed before, but specifically like if you're using over this dye ink as well, whatever, if you put a white over that, it will pick up the color underneath and have this blue cast. So that's why I like to clean it off afterwards because it kind of transfers onto the ballpoint pen. Tombow brush markers actually water reactive, all of them. So if you've got like a bunch of them, I know I see a lot of people do these techniques where they color onto plastic sheets and then put water, like spritz water on them and then smush them all over a page, I believe is the technical term. You can actually blend into them on the paper or just grab your water and pull some of these things around. And what's funny is that they're an ink as well, like they're a dye and they're water-based, so they're water reactive, but they actually pull out all the colors that they're made up of. So it's really interesting to see sometimes what colors are actually in the mix. So you can see there's so much yellow in this brown. It almost pulls out like the Tim Holtz Distress ink in Vintage Photo, which I really like. So if you're looking for a pen, a marker, so with a bit more control that does the same thing as the Vintage Photo, maybe this is for you. I don't know. It's just, I think these things are fun to play with because you don't really know until you start playing with them what you're gonna get. And these can be fun ways to paint a face. Remember, mixed media is all about mixing your media, so don't just worry that you've got a pastel there and you might not be able to use it with something else. I mean, this doesn't look great, but you know what I mean? Like, if there's something over here that you want to start mixing in over here, or you think you could pick up some of this over here and you want to put it into, like, if you wanted to do your line art over the top over here, I find that you get such interesting results and you actually have the most fun when you let go of it all and you just start playing, which I've obviously been inspired to do in this book today. So, even if you didn't like the white grid, apparently I'm just really enjoying the format and love playing in it. Because I've done 3 pages. I've done 3 gorge, Stun Wario art journal pages today. Oh look, this, you can see the iridescent through it. That's pretty. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it at that. My first impressions, thoughts, reviews, final thoughts. I'm going to say I'm really excited to use it, actually. I didn't expect this kind of resist to happen with the inks, but I'm also not mad at it, especially for things like writing and stuff like that. What I did picture this for was an illustration type journal where I could use a lot of this graph to help, the grid to help me illustrate more symmetrically. Is that a word? To illustrate with more symmetry and to get better results that way. But now that I'm kind of just enjoying the feel of it as an art journal, I might just not worry about it. I might just illustrate in here as I feel like illustrating. I might just art journal as I feel like art journaling. I think I'll just leave it at my desk and see what happens, because it takes all the media in ways that I would expect it to, and I'm also not mad at the the feel of it. I kind of really enjoy that tangible experience with a journal. This cord is probably going to get on my nerves and I'll chop it off. I don't really love book bands, bookmark ribbons. I love ribbons, I just don't really love the bookmark ones, especially in a journal that's going to get paint on it. I think it might become yuck. I'll leave it for now, we'll see. I also just get really tempted to fray them. Anyway, so it does totally work out for the black and white illustrations, the photocopying, if that's something you need some help with. I think it's such a random thing to think about, but just in case you were. It will pick up if you have large blocks of color that have acted as a resist. Again, if the resist seems like a problem to you, I'd encourage you to think of it as unexpected journal grid, unexpected lines for your journaling. As someone that can't write in a straight line to save his life, I think that would be a really, really fun, unexpected bonus for you. Otherwise, let me know in the comments below what type of competition we should be running for this giveaway, and I will be giving away this journal as well as this little Muji pen, which I really, really love. And as well, everything will be linked down below that I used in the video today. Please give the video a thumbs up if you liked anything you saw. Even if you didn't like it, I'd still really appreciate a thumbs up, please. Apparently it helps. I'm still, jury's out on whether it really does help your algorithm or not. I certainly don't believe that it does, but it is nice to see some thumbs up on a video. It does make me feel good. Did you know I'm at 192 videos, I think, now? And I started last year, January 8th. So I think it averages out at about 2.5 videos a week. There's a half video every week to look forward to. No, I did. Inktober was a big spike in those numbers, but I still think that's a pretty incredible effort. So I'm going to pat myself on the back today. I'm going to say good job. I'm going to give myself a thumbs up just to counteract the thumbs down that I still get. Guys, it happens all the time. Honestly, I know I shouldn't take offense, and to be real, I don't, but I just think, like, why are you watching? Like, why do you care to watch? And I know that there are trolls out there, but does trolling pay? Like, does it actually pay money, or do people just do it? Because I could understand if, like, there are companies that pay people to troll websites. I'd totally do it for $5. But, like, but I couldn't really understand the point of just going to videos and disliking them. So, I don't mind. I mean, keep doing it if you want to do it, but it literally does confuse me. And if you know the answer to that, please let me know if trolling pays. I'm looking for a side hustle, and I'd be more than happy to do that. No, okay, I gotta go because I'm too excited. I have other things to do today. I'll see you again in another video. Thanks for watching. Bye!